Ivan Denisov is a Kettlebell Sport world champion in the heavyweight division. He recently posted a video of 5 of the worst kettlebell exercises that you can do. In order to understand what he was saying, I was using Google Translate, so maybe some of the things got lost in translation. So let's see what Ivan is saying, and I'm gonna give you my opinion on it. But before we get started, I want you to join our free 50K giveaway. Get a chance to win lifetime access to our online kettlebell courses valued over $2,000. Link is in the description. Grüezi miteinander, Gregory von Lebe here. This is a great video that goes to show that while I agree with certain things that Ivan is saying, and I even think that he's offering some valid criticism and some inputs that I didn't think of, with some of the points, I actually see it a little bit differently. The first exercise that Ivan is talking about is the around the world. He says that it's impossible to get a global training effect with this exercise. And I actually like this concept of a global training effect. What I call it is most bang for your buck. You want to choose kettlebell exercises, especially if you're short on time, that give you a lot of return on your investment. I disagree on the matter that the exercise doesn't really activate any muscles. If you do it with a heavier weight for longer sets of time, it will tax your system and it will train your forearms most definitely. You will feel them the next day. I agree, however, in the terms of global activation, how I like this description. It's not a most bang for your buck exercise, and I think, yes, as a warm-up exercise, why not? But one thing that I also want to add is this is the highest chance that you will drop the kettlebell on the floor. And if you have a floor where the kettlebell is not supposed to fall on, be careful. Exercise number 2 is the good morning. He says that you can't really use heavy weights when you use a kettlebell. That's why it is better suited with a barbell. However, again, he says for a warm-up exercise, yeah, why not? And then he shows a different exercise that you can do better, which he calls, or I call, a tilted deadlift, where you deadlift the weight or the kettlebell outside from your center of mass. I disagree that you only have to use heavy weights to get a good stimulus. You can also use lighter weights, and not just for a warm-up exercise. You can also include it as a regular exercise, use a lighter kettlebell, keep going, and then you will build some local strength endurance right in that area. I also don't think that this tilted deadlift is a good idea. If you lift weights, especially heavier weights, outside your center of mass, in front of your toes or in front of your feet, this puts additional stress on the lower back, which might cause problems. I agree that if you want to load the exercise heavier, you want to use a barbell. You see, lifting a 40 kg kettlebell on your back, even if you're very strong and big and muscular and a bear-like structure, this is just a traumatic experience for your shoulder, heaving the kettlebell between your shoulder blades. Exercise number 3 is the 360 or the circular clean. Again, he talks about this global training effect and how you're missing it if you do this exercise. He says there's too much gravity and inertia that's influencing the weight without you having to do anything. And finally, he mentions that rotations are dangerous for the lower back, and there are better exercises that you can do. A regular clean, for example, will give you more return on your investment. However, on the other hand, the inertia and gravity complaint is a little bit redundant, because when you train with the kettlebell, inertia and gravity is always part of the game. If you use a heavier weight, the exercise becomes highly challenging and works your traps, your shoulders, and your back. As for the dangers in rotation, he's right to a certain extent. You see, the problems or the dangers of rotation rear their ugly head when you flex the spine, you bend it, and then you rotate. Think about lifting your lawn mower like the Hunchback of Notre Dame with a flexed spine and then lifting it inside your truck. If you're advanced, however, I don't see any problem. First of all, your lower back tolerates a little bit of rotation. And another problem that I see is if we always shy away from rotation, we don't move in the transverse or the frontal plane. And if we ignore these planes, there is some practical strength in there that we might miss out on if we don't engage in them. Exercise number 4 is the squat swing. Again, his basic complaint is there is a lack of the global training effect. This exercise is hard to do, yes, no question. If that was his complaint, that it requires a lot of technique and the beginners will have problems trying this exercise, I will agree wholeheartedly. However, this is a monster of an exercise. It taxes your systems in seconds, especially if you use a heavier weight. It is way harder to do than a regular swing, and it requires a great kinesthetic sense and some additional coordination. And the final exercise that Ivan Denisov doesn't like is the Turkish Get Up. Now, if the translation is correct, he calls this a traumatic exercise. He says that you will risk a shoulder injury, and he talks about the light versus heavyweight debate. He says, yes, with light weights, no problem, but with heavy weights, it becomes an issue. He also mentions there's a strain on the body because you are limited or you are restricted to properly breathe as you move through the different stages of the exercise. And he then states that as a stabilizing exercise, it's not bad, but you quickly adapt to it. Now, first of all, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. He does the exercise wrong. If you do it like this, there is injury lurking at every corner. Here's the problem. He uses the wrong leg as he goes down. And if you use the wrong leg, you don't have a stable surface. You cannot go to the floor. You cannot use your stabilizer muscles. Your shoulder's not working properly. You might drop on your back like a bag of rice. Yes, many issues arise if you don't do the exercise properly. It is one of the greatest exercises actually for good shoulder health. There is no risk involved if you understand the exercise and you move through it without any weights first, and then you start working with a weight and then you progress to heavier ones. It also builds so-called straight arm strength. This is something that gymnastics folks are known for. You can most definitely do the exercise with light and very heavy weights, no problem at all. And when it comes to the breathing, Pavel Tsatsouline calls this breathing behind the shield. As you are breathing through the exercise, you always want to keep your abdominals tight and brace, but you can still throw out some trash and exhale while you keep your abdominals tight. His final remark that you quickly adapt to the exercise is again redundant, because you quickly adapt to any exercise that you do regularly. And that's a good thing, because your body adapts to it, because the body gets stronger, fitter, better, faster. Well, then you can use progressive techniques. Either use heavier weights, go faster, decrease the rest, do longer sets of time, or do a different exercise altogether. So here's my final point. We just witnessed a kettlebell world champion, not just lacking tension, but also not even understanding the basics of the Turkish Get Up. Just like we were able to witness a couple of videos earlier, watch it right here if you're interested, how the hardstyle guys don't really know how to do a proper clean and jerk. Listen, when it comes to the ballistics, the Girevoy lifts or Kettlebell Sport lifts, snatch, long cycle jerk, they use the proper fundamentals of the kettlebell, using leverage techniques, using explosive power that comes from weightlifting. This is the proper way to do the ballistics. I think the hardstyle ideology doesn't even come close to what the ballistics from the Girevoy world has to offer. On the other hand, the Girevoy guys don't know a Turkish Get Up, a strict press, a squat, a lunge. I'm not saying that they cannot do it, but you see, when they have to demonstrate it, they don't know the proper fundamentals. There's many things that Pavel brought into this world with his martial arts background that we can profit from. So that's why I believe being a hybrid, a guy that understands high volume and high tension techniques, that's the way to go. I slowly start abandoning the idea of there even being styles in the first place. There's just intent. You either go high volume or high tension. Finally, what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. So here's the next thing that you have to do. Like the video, consider subscribing, share with a friend, and then go watch this video. If you're just discovering the kettlebell for the first time and you're looking for a great tutorial and a beginner routine that you can do that explains the exercises, you have to watch this video right here. It's gonna help you and it's gonna be worth your time.